Academy Station 7 hung in the void like a giant metal starfish with a hangover. 5 enormous arms stretched outward from a central hub, each housing different training facilities for the Galactic Allied Forces. It wasn't the biggest military academy in the cosmos, but it was certainly the most diverse, with over 47 species represented in the current cadet class. And one of them was becoming a legendary pain in Admiral Nexus's posterior tentacles. Cadet 13 has done it again, sighed Commander Vorex, sliding a report across the Admiral's desk. Reprogrammed the mess hall synthesizers to produce nothing but purple goo that tastes like what Earthlings call maple syrup, but causes temporary telepathy. Admiral Nexus, a tall willowy Arcturian with skin the color of burnished copper, picked up the report with 3 of her 7 digits. The 4th incident this month, and we're only 10 days in. The Zorblaxians are typically our best cadets, Vorex said, his exoskeleton clicking nervously. But this one seems determined to set some kind of record for disciplinary actions. Admiral Nexus's compound eyes reflected the station's ambient lighting as she considered the situation. It's not just 13, discipline rates are up station-wide. The Melnorians in Barracks 3 have started a gambling ring. 2 Quantuvian cadets hacked the simulator to make every enemy ship look like their calculus professor. She set down the report. We need something different. Someone different. I've reviewed every instructor in the Allied Forces database, Vorex said. Nobody with the right combination of skills is available. The Admiral's face shifted into what passed for a smile in her species, a rippling of facial muscles that made her look briefly like she was about to sneeze. I said different, Commander, and I found different. She activated her terminal, and turned it so Commander Vorex could see the personnel file. The insectoid officer's mandibles clicked rapidly in surprise. A human? We haven't had a human instructor at Station 7 in, well ever. Lieutenant Commander Rusty Martinez, decorated combat veteran, specialized in unorthodox tactics and cross-species training. The Admiral's voice carried a note of satisfaction. The humans have a peculiar approach to discipline and motivation that might be exactly what we need. But Admiral, humans are so unpredictable and fragile. Cadet 13 could literally breathe fire at her if provoked. Corrected the Admiral. And I'm counting on unpredictable. These cadets have figured out how to work around our standard approaches. They need something they can't calculate, can't predict. Commander Vorex shifted uncomfortably. The human requested permission to bring what they call a tactical companion aboard. Some sort of Earth creature. Request granted, the Admiral said without hesitation. If Martinez thinks it will help whip these cadets into shape, I'd let him bring an entire Earth zoo aboard. The following morning, Admiral Nexus stood before the assembled cadets in the central auditorium. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and biochemical makeups filled the room, some sitting, some standing, some floating, and a few hanging from the ceiling. Near the back, slouched in a seat designed for a much larger species, Cadet 13 looked spectacularly bored. The young Zorblaxian's scaled skin gleamed under the lights, shifting between shades of blue and green depending on which way they turned. 4 arms were crossed in defiance, while the 2 smaller auxiliary limbs drummed an irritating pattern on the armrests. Your attention, cadets, Admiral Nexus's voice boomed through the hall. As you may have noticed, discipline on this station has become problematic. A wave of murmurs and clicks and whistles, the various sounds of multiple species either chuckling or expressing guilt, depending on their involvement in recent incidents. Therefore, I am instituting a new training program for all first-year cadets. You will report to Training Bay 12 at 0700 hours tomorrow to meet your new combat and tactical instructor. Cadet 13 leaned over to Cadet 42, a gelatinous Malorian, whose translucent body rippled with bioluminescent patterns. Another instructor for us to drive insane, 13 whispered. Wonder how long this one will last before requesting transfer. The last one made it 3 weeks, 42 bubbled softly. I give this one 2, tops, 13 replied with a toothy grin that displayed all 37 of their serrated teeth. The Admiral's voice cut through their whispers. I should warn you that Lieutenant Commander Martinez has a somewhat unconventional teaching style. I expect you to show him the same respect you would show me. At this, Cadet 13 couldn't contain a snort of laughter, which echoed embarrassingly loud in the suddenly quiet auditorium. Admiral Nexus fixed her compound eyes directly on the troublesome cadet. Particularly you, Cadet 13. I believe you and the Lieutenant Commander will have much to learn from each other. Yes, Admiral, 13 replied with exaggerated formality, adding a mock salute that was just proper enough to avoid official reprimand. As the assembly dispersed, 13 gathered with their usual group of misfits. 42 the Malorian, Cadet 87, a silicon-based lifeform from the Rigel system, whose body resembled polished obsidian, carved into a vaguely humanoid shape, and Cadet 29, a tiny but brilliantly intelligent avian species whose feathers changed color according to their mood, currently a smug orange. A new instructor, how terrifying, 13 drawled, all 6 limbs gesturing dramatically. What's next? Mandatory meditation with the Zen rocks of Betelgeuse. Actually, 29 chirped, feathers shifting to a more serious blue. I looked into this Martinez character. He's human. The group fell silent. Human, 13 finally said. As in squishy, emotional, bizarrely adaptable human, from that backwater planet Earth? The very same 29 confirmed. And rumor has it he's bringing some sort of Earth creature with him. Cadet 13's scales rippled with amusement. Oh, this just gets better and better. Not only do we get a soft breakable instructor, but he's bringing a pet. I can't wait to see what pathetic organism he thinks will impress a class full of the galaxy's elite cadets. If only Cadet 13 knew what waited in the compressed atmosphere container aboard the approaching transport shuttle. If only they understood the evolutionary terror that was about to pad silently into their life on 4 innocent-looking paws. But they would learn. Oh yes, they would learn. Training Bay 12 was packed tighter than a Neptunian sardine can. Every cadet had arrived early, curiosity overcoming even the most rebellious impulses. None of them had ever been taught by a human before. Most had never even seen one in person. I heard they leak water when they're upset, whispered Cadet 87, obsidian surface gleaming under the bay lights. That's just a myth, chirped Cadet 29, feathers currently a curious purple, though they do secrete various fluids from different orifices depending on their emotional and physical states. Disgusting, Cadet 13 muttered. All 6 limbs folded in different configurations of boredom, probably why they contain their liquids in those fabric coverings. The massive doors to the training bay slid open with a pneumatic hiss. The room fell silent as footsteps echoed across the polished floor. Cadets craned necks, extended eye stalks or reconfigured sensory organs to get a better look. Lieutenant Commander Rusty Martinez was underwhelming. Standing at roughly 180 centimeters, the human male had the typical bipedal structure of his species, with the standard issue 2 arms, 2 legs, and 1 head. His skin was a warm brown tone, and his face sported what many species recognized as a mustache, a strip of facial hair above the upper lip that served no apparent evolutionary purpose. He wore the standard gray and blue uniform of the Allied Forces, though his sleeves were rolled up to expose forearms covered in colorful markings. Tattoos, according to the xenobiology textbooks. But what really caught everyone's attention was the container floating beside him on a gravity sled. It was approximately 1 cubic meter, with ventilation holes and a secure locking mechanism. Something was inside, something alive, judging by the occasional shuffling sound. The human came to a stop and surveyed the room with dark brown eyes that missed nothing. When he spoke, his voice was neither particularly deep nor loud, yet somehow commanded attention. Good morning, cadets. I'm Lieutenant Commander Rusty Martinez. You can call me Commander Martinez, or just Commander. I'll be taking over your tactical and combat training for the foreseeable future. Cadet 13 leaned toward 42 and whispered, 2 weeks tops. The human's eyes flicked directly to 13. Cadet with the lovely blue-green scales and the mouth that apparently operates independently from the brain. You have something to share with the class. The room went dead silent. Even the ventilation system seemed to pause. Cadet 13's scales flushed a deep purple, the Zorblaxian equivalent of a blush. No, Commander. No, seemed like you had quite the insight there. Please enlighten us. 13 straightened up, never one to back down from a challenge. I was merely expressing my estimation of your tenure here, Commander. The betting pool has you requesting transfer within 2 weeks. Instead of looking offended, the human's mouth curved upward. Cadets who had studied human expressions recognized this as a smile, though on Martinez, it looked more like a predator baring its teeth. Interesting. I like bets, the commander said. What odds are you giving? This wasn't the reaction 13 had expected. 3 to 1. Put me down for 100 credits on never requesting transfer, Martinez said, pulling out what appeared to be an antiquated physical currency card and tossing it to 13, who caught it reflexively with one of their smaller auxiliary hands. The human turned back to address the entire class. Now that we've settled that, let's talk about why I'm here. Admiral Nexus believes you all need a different approach to discipline and combat readiness. I agree. He walked slowly across the front of the room. You're all intelligent. Some of you are physically stronger than me. Many of you have natural abilities I can only dream of. But none of that matters if you can't work together, follow orders when necessary, and think creatively when the situation demands it. The container on the gravity sled emitted a low sound, something between a growl and a vibration. Every cadet's attention immediately shifted to the mysterious box. Martinez noticed and smiled again. "Ah yes, I should introduce you to my tactical companion. Every good instructor needs a teaching assistant." With theatrical timing, the human pressed his palm against the container's biometric lock. The front panel slid open, and for a moment nothing happened. Then with deliberate slowness, a creature emerged. It was small, ridiculously small, perhaps 4 kilograms of mass, covered in striped orange and white fur. 4 slender limbs ended in what appeared to be miniature daggers. 2 pointed ears topped a round head, from which gleaming green eyes surveyed the room with unnerving intelligence. A long flexible tail swished behind it. The creature stretched, yawned, displaying needle-sharp teeth, then sat on its haunches, and began meticulously licking one paw. "This," announced Commander Martinez with evident pride, "is Mr. Whiskers." The silence that followed was so profound you could have heard a Floridian microbe molt. Then laughter erupted. It came in various forms. Malorians bubbled, Quantuvians emitted high-pitched whistles, Zorblaxians like Cadet 13 produced deep rumbling chortles. Even the normally stoic silicon-based cadets vibrated with amusement. Mr. Whiskers continued grooming himself, apparently unconcerned with the reaction. "You brought a pet," Cadet 13 finally managed to say between bursts of laughter. "That's your tactical companion." Martinez's expression didn't change. "Mr. Whiskers is a domestic feline, what we on Earth call a house cat, and he is much more than a pet. It's tiny," someone called out. "It has no natural armor," added another voice. "It's grooming itself during a military briefing," Cadet 13 pointed out, all 6 limbs gesturing wildly in disbelief. The cat paused its grooming, and stared directly at Cadet 13 with an intensity that was unsettling. Then, as if making a decision, it leapt from the container in a graceful arc, landed silently on the floor, and padded toward the Zorblaxian cadet. The room quieted as everyone watched the small furry creature approach one of the largest and most physically intimidating cadets in the room. Mr. Whiskers stopped directly in front of Cadet 13, looked up with those unblinking green eyes, and made a sound. Meow. This set off another round of laughter. 13 looked down at the cat with amused disdain. "Is it trying to communicate? Does it think it's intimidating me?" 13 asked, generating more laughter. Commander Martinez's voice cut through the noise. "Mr. Whiskers isn't trying to intimidate you, Cadet 13. He's sizing you up." "For what? A snack? I think I'd be the one eating him, Commander." 13's scales rippled with amusement. "You could try," Martinez said mildly. "Others have. It generally doesn't end well for them." Before anyone could process this rather ominous statement, the cat did something unexpected. It circled around Cadet 13 once, then with a leap that seemed to defy physics, sprang up and landed directly on the cadet's shoulder. 13 froze, all 4 eyes widening in shock. The cat made itself comfortable, curling its tail around its paws, and began to purr, a rumbling vibration that somehow filled the now silent room. "Excellent choice, Mr. Whiskers," Martinez said with evident satisfaction. "Cadet 13 will be your primary student this term." "What?" 13 spluttered, still not daring to move with the creature perched on their shoulder. "What does that mean?" "It means," the commander said, "that you've just been volunteered to be our demonstration subject for today's lesson." Mr. Whiskers seldom makes mistakes in his assessments. The cat's purring intensified, and somehow, though no one could explain exactly why, it no longer sounded entirely friendly. "Now then," Martinez continued, clapping his hands together, "let's talk about Earth's approach to combat readiness. Specifically, why humans, one of the physically weaker species in the Allied forces, have such a disproportionate number of special operations commanders." He gestured toward Mr. Whiskers, who was now kneading his claws ever so slightly into Cadet 13's shoulder scales. "And it all begins with understanding our relationship with predators like Mr. Whiskers here." Cadet 13 swallowed nervously, suddenly aware that the seemingly harmless creature was strategically positioned next to their most vulnerable spot, the sensitive junction between neck and shoulder, where Zorblaxian neural clusters were closest to the surface. And somehow, impossibly, it felt like the cat knew this. When Mr. Whiskers turned his gaze back to 13, the cadet could have sworn the creature winked. This was going to be a very long day. "Can someone tell me what's happening right now?" Cadet 13 asked, voice higher than usual, still frozen with Mr. Whiskers perched on their shoulder. The cat's tail occasionally swished across 13's neck scales, causing involuntary shudders. "Your new best friend is making himself comfortable," Commander Martinez replied, setting up a hollow projector. "I'd advise against sudden movements. Cats have excellent balance, but they tend to deploy claws when startled." "Deploy claws," 13 repeated, eyeing the tiny daggers currently retracted into the feline's paws. "Just think of them as organic grappling hooks that double as cutting implements," Martinez said cheerfully. "Mr. Whiskers, would you mind giving the class a demonstration?" As if understanding the request perfectly, the cat stretched one paw forward and slowly, deliberately extended 5 razor-sharp claws, each gleaming under the training bay lights. A collective gasp went through the room. For such a small creature, those natural weapons were impressively proportionate. "Earth cats have 18 of these retractable claws," Martinez explained, activating the hollow projector to display a rotating anatomical diagram of feline physiology. 5 on each front paw, 4 on each back paw. They can extend or retract them at will. "That's actually impressive," admitted Cadet 87, the silicon-based lifeform. "Organic weaponry, with a concealment mechanism. But it's still just a small predator," Cadet 13 said, trying to sound dismissive despite the growing unease they felt. "Many of us have natural defense mechanisms far more powerful." Mr. Whiskers chose that moment to yawn widely, displaying a set of teeth that, while small, were arranged in the classic pattern of a carnivorous hunter. "True," Martinez acknowledged. "What makes cats special isn't raw power, it's their approach." He tapped the hollow projector controls, and the image changed to a video of various Earth cats in the wild, larger versions of Mr. Whiskers stalking prey, climbing trees, squeezing through tiny spaces, and making impossible leaps. Cats were one of Earth's most successful predator designs, not because they were the biggest or strongest, but because they were the most adaptable, patient, and precise. They're living calculation engines, constantly analyzing risk versus reward. Martinez walked over to 13, and Mr. Whiskers, gesturing as he continued. "They can fall from heights that would kill most creatures and land safely. They can squeeze through any opening wide enough to accommodate their skull. They can navigate in near total darkness. And they can strike with such precision that they can incapacitate prey many times their size." "So what?" 13 challenged, gaining confidence now that Mr. Whiskers had been sitting peacefully for several minutes. "Many species evolve effective hunting strategies. My ancestors could spit corrosive acid up to 12 meters. Mr. Whiskers' ears twitched. "Impressive," Martinez agreed. "But could they do this?" He made a subtle hand gesture that 13 almost missed. Almost instantly, Mr. Whiskers transformed from a relaxed purring ball of fur into a blur of motion. Before anyone could track what was happening, the cat had leapt from 13's shoulder, rebounded off a nearby wall, twisted in mid-air, and landed perfectly balanced on top of 13's head. The entire maneuver took less than a second. Cadet 13 went completely still, all 4 eyes wide with shock. "Holy plasma storms," whispered Cadet 42, their gelatinous body rippling with amazement. "And he pulled that move at about 20% capacity," Martinez said with obvious pride. "Mr. Whiskers is actually quite fond of you, Cadet 13. If he wasn't, you'd be nursing some rather impressive scratches right now." Martinez made another hand gesture, and the cat casually hopped down, sauntering back to the front of the room, as though nothing extraordinary had happened. "But, how did it move so fast?" asked Cadet 29, feathers cycling through colors in rapid confusion. "Evolutionary optimization," Martinez replied, changing the hollow projection to show a skeletal comparison between humans and cats. "Cats have floating collarbones, allowing for greater compression and expansion of their shoulder girdle. Their spine is incredibly flexible, their muscle-to-weight ratio is off the charts, and their neural response time for certain movements is faster than most sentient species can consciously perceive." Cadet 13 finally found their voice again. "It's just physical adaptations then, not intelligence." Mr. Whiskers, who was now sitting primly beside Martinez, gave 13 a look that could only be described as withering. "That brings me to the most important part," Martinez said, deactivating the hollow projector. "Earth's evolutionary history produced something unique in the galaxy, predators and prey that evolved in an endless arms race, constantly adapting to each other's adaptations. And eventually, one strange primate species decided to ally with certain predators, rather than just fighting or fleeing them." He bent down to scratch behind Mr. Whiskers' ears, eliciting a loud purr. "Humans didn't domesticate cats so much as cats agreed to a mutually beneficial arrangement. They hunt vermin around our dwellings, we provide them with shelter and additional food. They retain all their predatory instincts and abilities, but channel them in ways that benefit our partnership. You're saying the cat chooses to obey you? Cadet 13 asked skeptically. Martinez laughed. Obey? No, Mr. Whiskers doesn't obey me, we collaborate. And that's what you're all going to learn to do, collaborate with species that think differently than you do, that have different instincts and priorities. With all due respect, Commander, Cadet 13 said, scales shifting to a more serious blue-green. I don't see how playing with your pet is going to improve our combat readiness. Mr. Whiskers' tail twitched twice, his green eyes narrowed slightly. Let me demonstrate, Martinez said, with that same unsettling smile. Cadet 13, I understand your species has excellent reflexes, and can move quite quickly when motivated. Fastest in our cadet class, 13 confirmed, secondary arms flexing slightly in pride. Excellent. Here's a simple challenge then. Martinez reached into his pocket and pulled out a small red dot projector. Catch the dot. A tiny red spot appeared on the floor in front of 13. They looked at it in confusion. That's it? Catch the light dot. If you can, Martinez said with a nod. Cadet 13 scoffed and lunged forward, with impressive speed, slapping a hand down over the red dot. But when they lifted their hand, the dot was gone, now dancing 2 meters to the left. What the? 13 lunged again, faster this time, but again, the dot wasn't there when they checked. After the 5th failed attempt, 13 was breathing hard, scales flushed with exertion and embarrassment. The other cadets were trying not to laugh. Having trouble? Martinez asked innocently, still casually moving the small projector. Perhaps you're overthinking it. It's just a matter of timing, 13 growled, crouching in preparation for another attempt. Mr. Whiskers, would you mind showing the class how it's done? Martinez asked. The cat, who had been watching the proceedings with evident amusement, stood up and stretched. Martinez directed the red dot to the center of the room, where it danced in small circles. Mr. Whiskers' entire body language changed. He lowered himself into a hunting crouch, tail swishing slowly behind him. His eyes, now dilated into large black pools with thin rings of green, tracked the dot with laser-like focus. Then he pounced. What followed was an extraordinary display of speed, agility, and precision, as the cat chased the red dot around the room. Mr. Whiskers bounded over obstacles, skidded around corners, and even ran briefly up a wall to intercept the dot's path. Each movement flowed into the next with liquid grace, a perfect economy of motion with zero wasted energy. Even more impressive was the fact that Mr. Whiskers never seemed to fall for the fake-outs that had tripped up Cadet 13. Somehow the cat anticipated where the dot would go next, positioning himself to intercept, rather than chase. After about 30 seconds of this display, Martinez turned off the projector. Mr. Whiskers immediately sat down and began grooming himself again, as if to say, I meant to do that. The training bay was completely silent. That was remarkable, admitted Cadet 29, feathers a respectful blue. But it's just chasing a light, 13 protested, though with significantly less conviction than before. Is it? Martinez asked. Or is it a demonstration of threat assessment, predictive movement calculation, energy conservation, and perfect execution, all skills essential for any military operation? He pocketed the projector. Mr. Whiskers has never once caught that dot. He knows it's not real prey, but he engages in the exercise, because it hones his skills, and because we've formed a partnership where such demonstrations are rewarded. He bent down to offer Mr. Whiskers a small treat, which the cat accepted with dignity. That will be your first assignment, Martinez announced to the class. Form a working partnership with a being whose instincts and priorities differ from your own. Learn to anticipate each other's movements and complement each other's strengths. He looked directly at Cadet 13, and you will be partnering with Mr. Whiskers. 13's scales went pale. You want me to partner with the cat? Precisely. For the next week, wherever you go, Mr. Whiskers goes. You'll eat together, train together, and yes, sleep in the same quarters. But no buts, Cadet. You wanted to test my teaching methods. Here's your chance to experience them firsthand. Mr. Whiskers looked up at 13, and made another sound, not quite a meow, not quite a purr. It sounded suspiciously like a chuckle. Think of it this way, Martinez added with a grin. At least you know where the cat is when he's with you. It's when you don't know where he is that you should really be worried. As if to emphasize this point, Mr. Whiskers silently padded over to 13, and rubbed against their leg once before looking up expectantly. Cadet 13 had faced many challenges in their young military career: simulated combat, survival training, even actual emergency situations. But somehow, looking down into those intelligent green eyes, they knew that nothing had prepared them for the week ahead. The cat blinked slowly at 13, a gesture that seemed almost friendly. Almost. 3 days into what Cadet 13 had begun calling feline punishment detail, the Zorblaxian was a changed being. Their normally immaculate scales were dulled from lack of proper grooming time. All 6 limbs moved with the hesitant caution of someone expecting an ambush at any moment, and the dark patches under all 4 eyes suggested sleep had become a luxury rather than a necessity. "He watches me," 13 whispered to their friends during a brief moment when Mr. Whiskers was distracted by a floating dust particle. "All the time. Even when I think he's asleep, he's not. And he keeps knocking things over, knocking things over." Cadet 42 bubbled in confusion, deliberately. 13's voice took on a haunted quality. "He'll look right at me, then slowly push something off a shelf. A datapad, my badge, my hydration container, anything. And he never breaks eye contact while doing it." "That doesn't sound so bad," said Cadet 87, obsidian surface reflecting the overhead lights. "It's psychological warfare," 13 insisted. "And the midnight zoomies." "The what?" asked Cadet 29. "Random bursts of hyperactivity at 0300 hours, running in circles, pouncing on invisible targets, using my sleeping body as a launching pad." Commander Martinez appeared behind them, making 13 jump. "Discussing your progress with Mr. Whiskers, Cadet." "Progress?" 13 almost screeched. "He sheds fur on everything I own." "Adaptation takes time," Martinez said reasonably. "But I notice you've stopped using your auxiliary arms for fine manipulation tasks." 13 blinked in surprise. It was true they'd unconsciously adapted their movement patterns, keeping their smaller arms tucked close to their body most of the time. "How is that progress?" "You're learning to move in ways that don't trigger Mr. Whiskers' prey drive. Smoother, more deliberate motions, less wasted energy." Martinez smiled. "He's training you as much as you're training him." "Training me? I'm supposed to be training him." "Partnership, Cadet. You each adjust to the other's needs and capabilities." Before 13 could object further, alarms blared throughout the training bay. Red emergency lights pulsed along the walls. "Attention all personnel," came Admiral Nexus's voice over the station-wide comm. "Training Bay 12 defense systems have malfunctioned. Containment protocols engaged. Stand by for emergency response." Heavy blast doors slammed down, sealing the cadets and Martinez inside the training bay. "Commander," Cadet 29's feathers had gone pale yellow with fear. "What's happening?" Martinez was already at a control terminal, fingers flying over the interface. "Defense drone is active but not responding to shutdown commands. It's showing all life forms as potential hostiles." As if summoned by his words, a spherical security drone descended from a ceiling hatch. 2 meters in diameter, bristling with stunning apparatus designed to incapacitate without killing, though at malfunctioning intensity levels, serious injury was a distinct possibility. "Combat formation, Theta," Martinez ordered. "Defensive positions." The cadets scrambled to follow protocol, but the drone moved with unexpected speed. It fired a stunning pulse that caught Martinez square in the chest, sending him flying backward into a wall where he crumpled, unconscious. "Commander," several voices cried out in alarm. The drone pivoted, targeting systems, locking onto the next closest cadet, who happened to be 13. Time seemed to slow. The drone's capacitors whined as they charged for another stunning pulse. 13's combat training kicked in, muscles tensing to dive for cover, but they knew they wouldn't be fast enough. Then a streak of orange and white flashed across 13's field of vision. Mr. Whiskers, moving faster than seemed physically possible, launched himself from a nearby equipment rack directly onto the drone. His claws, fully extended now, screeched against the metal surface as he scrambled for purchase. The drone spun wildly, trying to dislodge the unexpected attacker. Mr. Whiskers clung on, somehow anticipating each violent motion, adjusting his position with micro-bursts of muscle control that 13 could barely track. More incredibly, the cat seemed to be targeting specific points on the drone: sensor arrays, junction boxes, exposed circuit pathways. He wasn't just attacking randomly, he was systematically disabling the drone's capabilities. "It's distracted," 13 shouted to the other cadets. "We need to help." Without waiting for a response, 13 sprinted forward, using all 6 limbs to build momentum. Years of causing trouble on space stations had taught them exactly how security systems were wired. They just needed to reach the drone's manual override port. But the drone, despite Mr. Whiskers' interference, managed to target 13 again. It fired another stunning pulse. What happened next would become legend at Academy Station 7. Mr. Whiskers somehow sensed the impending attack. He leapt clear of the drone, twisted in midair, and landed directly on 13's shoulder, his now familiar perch. But instead of digging in for stability, he used 13's body as a springboard, launching himself back at the drone from a new angle, while simultaneously pushing 13 off trajectory. The stunning pulse missed by centimeters. In that moment, 13 understood something profound. The cat wasn't just reacting, he was calculating, anticipating both the drone's actions and 13's intentions. He was creating opportunities, working together. A strange calm settled over 13. Without conscious thought, they adjusted their approach vector, providing Mr. Whiskers with a stable platform for his next leap. The cat used it perfectly, springing onto the drone's upper hemisphere, where he systematically began shredding the primary sensor array with surgical precision. The drone, partially blinded now, fired wildly. 13 ducked and rolled, moving with a fluidity they'd never achieved before. Moving, 13 suddenly realized, like a cat, the override port is on the underside. 13 called out to the others, "We need to flip it." Cadets 42, 87, and 29 joined the effort, coordinating their movements with surprising efficiency. Using the distraction Mr. Whiskers was providing, they managed to surround the drone. "Now," 13 shouted. The cadets attacked simultaneously from different angles. The drone couldn't track them all. In the confusion, 13 slid underneath, auxiliary arms extended to reach the recessed override port. One quick twist, and the drone froze, weapons powering down as the emergency shutdown took effect. Mr. Whiskers, sensing the change, casually hopped down from the now inert machine, and began grooming himself as if nothing extraordinary had happened. The training bay was silent, except for the sound of heavy breathing from exhausted cadets. "Did that just happen?" Cadet 87 finally asked. The cat knew exactly what to do, Cadet 29 said, feathers cycling through amazed purples and blues. "It's like he's done this before, I think," 13 said slowly, looking at Mr. Whiskers with new respect. "That he has." Commander Martinez groaned, regaining consciousness against the wall. The cadets rushed to help him up. "The drone," he managed to say. "Status, neutralized, sir," 13 reported formally. Mr. Whiskers led the counter-offensive. Martinez didn't look surprised. Of course he did. He winced, pressing a hand to his ribs. "That's why we bring cats on deep space missions. Best security system ever devised." "But he's so small," 13 protested, though without the dismissiveness of before. "Size doesn't matter when you've evolved alongside the universe's most determined predators, humans." Martinez smiled through his pain. "We pushed Earth's predators to become extraordinary, and then, instead of exterminating them like most species would, we formed alliances, learned from them, became more like them." Mr. Whiskers sauntered over and bumped his head against 13's leg in what could only be described as approval. "I think," 13 said quietly, "I understand the lesson now." "Do you?" Martinez asked. "It's not about who's strongest, or has the most natural weapons. It's about adaptation, partnership, using what you have more efficiently than your opponent." And the 13 looked down at Mr. Whiskers, who gazed back with those intelligent green eyes. "And never underestimating something just because it looks harmless and cute," Mr. Whiskers purred. "Have a Class Raider Crimson Talon Syndicate. All cadets to secure shelters," Admiral Nexus announced as Academy Station 7 shuddered under weapons fire. Martinez gathered his class. "Shelter protocols now." "But sir, we can help," Cadet 13 protested. Another impact rocked the station. "They're targeting shield generators," Cadet 29 observed. "They'll send boarding parties through auxiliary points. Access point 7 is nearby," 13 realized. "We're cut off from shelters." Martinez's expression hardened. "New plan. We need to reach the emergency communication hub." 13, "You and Mr. Whiskers take point. You're trusting me to lead. Partnership, remember." Martinez turned to the cat. "Mr. Whiskers, permission for full tactical mode." The transformation was immediate. Mr. Whiskers' playful demeanor vanished, replaced by predatory focus. His pupils narrowed to slits, ears swiveling independently. What does full tactical mode mean? 13 asked nervously. It means the gloves are off. You're about to see why Earth vessels always carry cats. They moved through red-lit corridors. Mr. Whiskers led with unnatural silence, 13 matching his movements instinctively. Suddenly the cat froze, ears flat, tail puffed. 13 signaled the others to halt, then noticed Mr. Whiskers staring at a ventilation grate. A faint scraping sound came from inside. 3 pirates in crimson armor burst into the corridor. Well, well, growled the Zorblaxian leader. Cadets and a wounded instructor. Easy pickings. Mr. Whiskers launched himself at the leader's face, an orange missile of teeth and claws. The pirate howled, dropping his weapon. Martinez disarmed the second intruder while 13 swept the third's legs from under him. The Zorblaxian pulled Mr. Whiskers away, only for the cat to twist impossibly, rebound off the wall, and deliver a precisely targeted bite to the pirate's neck. He collapsed instantly. Pressure point, Martinez explained. Cats are excellent anatomists. 2 more encounters followed en route to the hub. Each time Mr. Whiskers provided advance warning and demonstrated impossible combat techniques. He fights like he thinks he's the apex predator, 13 observed. That's the secret to cats, Martinez replied. And to humans, we don't fight according to our actual place in the food chain. We fight according to where we think we belong. And where's that? Right at the top, of course. At the hub, they bypassed the jamming frequencies and called for help. Allied cruisers arrived, forcing the pirates to retreat. Admiral Nexus later questioned them about reports of an orange combat demon. Tactical feline support unit. Admiral, Martinez corrected with a straight face. Standard Earth military issue. As they left, Mr. Whiskers jumped to 13's shoulder without hesitation, and began purring. I think he's decided you're acceptable, Martinez said. Acceptable? After I helped him fight pirates, 13 protested without real indignation. From a cat, acceptable is high praise. Martinez smiled. You two make a good team. 13 scratched behind Mr. Whiskers' ears. Yeah, I guess we do. And if anyone noticed that Cadet 13's disciplinary issues mysteriously ceased from that day forward, they were wise enough not to mention it. Especially not when an orange tabby cat was watching nearby, green eyes gleaming with intelligence, and just a hint of mischief. After all, Mr. Whiskers was now the only one allowed to cause trouble around here. 1 month after the Crimson Talon incident, Academy Station 7 held its quarterly assessment ceremony. The central auditorium was packed with cadets, instructors, and a few visiting dignitaries who had heard rumors about the extraordinary events involving a small Earth predator and a group of previously troublesome cadets. Admiral Nexus stood at the podium, her copper skin gleaming under the ceremonial lights. Before we proceed with general assessments, I would like to recognize a special unit for their exceptional performance during last month's security breach. Cadet 13 sat stiffly in the front row, scales polished to a high shine for the occasion. In their lap, looking uncharacteristically dignified, sat Mr. Whiskers, groomed to perfection with a small Allied Forces insignia attached to his collar. Cadet Training Unit, 712, please stand, the Admiral commanded. 13, along with Cadets 29, 42, and 87, rose from their seats. Commander Martinez, now fully recovered from his injuries, stood beside them. These individuals demonstrated exceptional teamwork, tactical innovation, and courage under fire. Admiral Nexus continued. Their actions directly contributed to the protection of Academy property and personnel. Polite applause filled the auditorium. In particular, the Admiral added, I wish to note the remarkable partnership developed between Cadet 13 and our station's first tactical feline operative designation, Whiskers. At the sound of his name, Mr. Whiskers looked up, his expression somehow conveying both complete disinterest and smug satisfaction simultaneously, a feat only cats can manage. Commander Martinez, the Admiral said, I believe you have an announcement regarding this program. Martinez stepped forward. Thank you, Admiral. Due to the unprecedented success of our Earth-based cross-species training initiative, Allied Forces Command has approved an expansion of the program. Starting next quarter, we will be incorporating additional Earth species into our training regimen. Murmurs of curiosity rippled through the audience. Additionally, Martinez continued, Cadet 13 has been selected to assist me in developing this program, based on their exceptional adaptability and demonstrated capacity for cross-species cooperation. 13's scales flushed with pride, all 4 eyes widening in surprise. They hadn't been informed of this honor. "Congratulations, Cadet," Martinez said, offering a formal salute that 13 returned crisply. Mr. Whiskers yawned widely, apparently unimpressed by all the ceremony. Later, as the formal proceedings concluded, and cadets mingled with instructors and visitors, 13 found a quiet moment with Commander Martinez. "Thank you, sir," they said, all 6 limbs arranged in their most respectful posture. "For the opportunity, and for not giving up on me." "You did the hard work, Cadet," Martinez replied. "I just provided the catalyst." He glanced meaningfully at Mr. Whiskers, who was now charming treats from a Regellian diplomat. "About that," 13 said hesitantly. "There's something I've been meaning to ask. Mr. Whiskers is, well, he's clearly more than just a cat, isn't he? The way he understood complex tactics, targeted specific vulnerabilities on the pirates, anticipated our needs during combat. No ordinary animal could do those things." Martinez smiled enigmatically. "What do you think, Cadet?" 13 considered carefully. "Enhanced intelligence, some kind of neural implant maybe, or genetic engineering. Would it surprise you to learn that Mr. Whiskers is completely ordinary by Earth cat standards?" 13's jaw dropped. That's impossible. I've researched Earth felines extensively this past month. They're predators, yes, but they're not tactical geniuses. They don't understand complex technology or combat formations, don't they?" Martinez raised an eyebrow. "Or is it that humans have learned to recognize and utilize their natural talents in ways that align with our own objectives?" Before 13 could respond, Admiral Nexus approached with a tall, elegantly dressed human woman at her side. "Commander Martinez, Cadet 13, the Admiral said. "May I introduce Dr. Eleanor Burke, Director of the Allied Forces Xenobiology Division. She's here to evaluate our new training program." Dr. Burke extended a hand in the human greeting style. "Commander, I've heard remarkable things about your methods." She turned to 13, "And you must be the cadet who's bonded with our tactical operative." "An honor to meet you, Director," 13 said formally, carefully shaking the human's hand with one of their primary limbs as they'd been taught. "I'm particularly interested in your experience with Mr. Whiskers," Dr. Burke said. "The neural link must have been quite an adjustment." 13 frowned in confusion. "Neural link?" Dr. Burke blinked, then looked at Martinez. "They don't know." Martinez cleared his throat. "We were just discussing Mr. Whiskers' capabilities actually." Dr. Burke turned back to 13. "Mr. Whiskers is part of our Feline Integrated Tactical Asset Program, FITA for short. The specialized collar he wears contains a neural transmitter that creates a low-level empathic bond with his assigned partner." She gestured toward 13. The world seemed to tilt under 13's feet. "A neural link, with my brain?" "Oh, it's completely non-invasive," Dr. Burke assured them. "The technology simply enhances the natural bonding process between species, helps bridge the communication gap, subtle emotional states, basic intentions, that sort of thing. That's why I could anticipate his movements," 13 whispered, scales shifting to a pale blue of revelation. "And why he always seemed to know what I was thinking." "Precisely. The program has been remarkably successful on Earth vessels for decades. Cats' natural hunting instincts and territorial awareness make them ideal security partners when properly linked with a compatible host." "Compatible host," 13 repeated faintly. "That's the truly fascinating part," Dr. Burke continued enthusiastically. "We've tried linking Earth cats with dozens of different species, but they only form strong bonds with certain neural patterns. Your Zorblaxian brain structure must be particularly compatible." 13 looked across the room to where Mr. Whiskers was now sitting, staring directly at them with those unblinking green eyes. The cat slow blinked once, and 13 felt it, a warm pulse of something. Not quite emotion, not quite thought, but a definite connection. "So all this time, he's been in my head?" 13 asked, not sure whether to be horrified or amazed. Martinez shook his head. "Not controlling, just connecting. Earth cats don't want to control other beings. They just want to be understood and respected. The link merely facilitates what would naturally develop between compatible species given enough time." "Which brings me to the real reason for my visit," Dr. Burke said. "The Allied Forces are expanding the FITA program, and we need training pairs to demonstrate the potential to other academies. Commander Martinez suggested you and Mr. Whiskers might be interested." 13 stared at the human in shock. "You want us to, what exactly?" "Travel to other training facilities, show them what a successful human-developed interspecies partnership looks like. Be ambassadors for a new approach to tactical cooperation." Dr. Burke smiled. With full officer training credits, of course. For a moment, 13 said nothing, mind racing. A month ago, they had been the academy troublemaker, constantly in disciplinary hearings, pushing boundaries out of boredom and frustration. Now they were being offered a chance to help shape Allied Forces training protocols. Mr. Whiskers chose that moment to saunter over and wind himself around 13's legs once before looking up expectantly. Another pulse through the connection, anticipation, excitement, and something that felt suspiciously like affection. I think, 13 said slowly. Mr. Whiskers has already decided for both of us. The cat meowed once in apparent agreement. Martinez laughed. That's how it works with cats, Cadet. You don't choose them, they choose you. Dr. Burke looked pleased. Excellent, you'll ship out next week. I'll have all the details sent to your quarters. After the humans departed, 13 bent down to look Mr. Whiskers in the eye. So we're stuck with each other, are we? A neural link. You might have mentioned that earlier. The cat simply purred, the sound rumbling through 13's scales in a not unpleasant way. I suppose there are worse partners to have, 13 conceded, reaching down to scratch behind those pointed ears in exactly the spot they somehow knew Mr. Whiskers preferred. At least I'll never be bored. Mr. Whiskers stretched, then climbed up 13's uniform to assume his now customary position on the Zorblaxian's shoulder. Together, they surveyed the room full of different species from across the galaxy, all gathered in pursuit of cooperation and understanding. You know what's really unfair about this whole situation, 13 murmured to the cat. Everyone was so worried about me being a disciplinary problem. But you're the real troublemaker here, aren't you? You just have better PR. Mr. Whiskers' twitched in what 13 could have sworn was amusement, and through their newfound connection, 13 felt the cat's response as clearly as if he'd spoken aloud. Of course, I'm a cat. Causing trouble is what we do best. Humans figured that out millennia ago. Better to have us on their side than against them. 13 blinked in surprise. You can actually talk through this link. Only when I want to, came the smug reply, and only to those worthy of hearing. And what makes someone worthy? 13 asked, keeping their voice low, so others wouldn't notice them apparently talking to themselves. Mr. Whiskers' green eyes gleamed with ancient feline wisdom. Simple. You have to respect the cat, but never ever fear the human. Because it's not the humans you need to worry about in this universe. The cat stretched luxuriously on 13's shoulder, claws briefly extending before retracting again. It's whatever they've decided to make friends with.